Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. It is now 1 o'clock, and it is time to start the 5th Responsible Travel and Tourism Forum webinar for 2013. I'm your host, Andrea Dixon. I want to welcome all listeners to our Responsible Travel and Tourism community. If you're joining us for the first time, RTTF is a forum designed to educate and promote responsible tourism learning. Sorry, I was having trouble clicking there. So nominations for the RTTF Leadership Awards are open until December 6th. That's just 1 month away. And what are the RTTF Leadership Awards? They are 3 awards given out in 3 categories. The first award is the RTTF Leadership Award, which is given out to tour operators, accommodations, destinations. The second category is an award for a travel agent or travel agencies. And the final category is a Student Leadership Award. You can check out all the fine print regarding how you can nominate an organization or a person at rttf.ca and choose the Leadership Awards tab. Please really do consider submitting a nomination. These awards and all our webinars are possible due to the support from our sponsors. The webinar series and Leadership Awards sponsors are the Eton Chelsea, Tad Rogers School of Management at Ryerson University, Baxter Travel Media, and Air Canada. So our webinar series is listed there. The first 4 webinars are archived and ready for listening at rttf.ca. Our last webinar is in 2 weeks, November 20th. We'll be discussing issues around travel when a traveler has limited mobility. Our speakers will really help you understand how you can serve this growing market successfully. Today, we're looking at the topic of managing or mitigating risk when your clients travel. It's not only an issue when clients go to places that are obviously risky, but even to more common destinations such as the Caribbean. So we're going to show you how to obtain credible, reliable information so you can make informed decisions for yourself and for your clients. Now, who do we have here today to help us do this? Our first speaker is Frederic Burrell. Frederic is joining us from Ottawa, where he works for the Department of Foreign Affairs and International Trade. He's going to help us navigate what consulates can and cannot do. Frederic is an outreach officer, and he joined the department in 2007, first working in the Information Management and Information Technology Division, and then as a senior business analyst. Our second speaker is calling us today from Toronto. Mike Sanderson is a client manager with Manulife Insurance. Since 2007, Mike has been with Manulife, though of course it wasn't called Manulife, as Manulife was acquired his former employer, which is Podros & Smith and RBC. Mike trains approximately 350 travel agents across Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba each year, and recently Mike became a client manager concentrating on assisting Flight Centre in Eastern Canada with their training needs. To learn more about our speakers, as always, you can check out their full bio at rttf.ca. And our webinar will follow the usual format. I'll be the moderator with both Frederic and Mike speaking for about 20 minutes. Our Q&A will follow both speakers at approximately 1:50. And as always, too, I really hope you ask lots of questions. You can write your questions by typing, and they'll appear in the chat box. If you could add who they're for, that makes it easier for me, but not a big deal. And you can type questions at any time during the webinar. Frederic, that is all I need to cover, so I'm actually going to pass the mic over to you.
Thank you very much. So my name is Frédéric Barry, and I'm working for Foreign Affairs. We changed name, so Foreign Affairs Trade and Development. I work in the Consular Outreach Group, and today I'll give you a presentation on safe travel and Canadian consular services. So in this presentation, I will tell you about who we are and what we do, both here and abroad, and what are the tools available to assist Canadians prepare for safe travel abroad. So if we look at the next slide, you'll see Canadians love to travel. For example, in 2011, Canadians made more than 59 million trips abroad. It's worth noting that more and more Canadians of all ages are traveling to a wide range of destinations to the most exotic and remote location in the world. And some of these locations are not always equipped to face medical emergencies. There's more than 2.8 million Canadians currently living abroad, so that's more than the population of all Atlantic Canada. You can also see that the majority of Canadians who travel abroad are on holiday, and that most travelers are over 54 years old. You can also see here that the 5 countries most visited by Canadians in 2011 were the US, Mexico, Cuba, UK, and France. And these are the 3 most visited states in the US, New York, Florida, and Washington. So if we look at the next slide, consular services in 2011. So there were more than 1.3 million consular inquiries from Canada and from abroad. Our Emergency Watch and Response Center handled more than 110,000 calls. Millions of travel publications were distributed through our outreach activities and also ordered from our website. There were more than 168,000 passports issued outside of Canada through our offices abroad. And over 2,000 updates were made on travel.gc.ca that we'll take a look at in a few moments. Now if we move on to the role of Canadian Consular Services, it can take many forms, but essentially they fall under 2 categories, the preparation and the emergency assistance. So first of all, the preparation that we could also call education. We basically help Canadians prepare for international travel by providing up-to-date information and advice before they go, and before is the key word here. Preparation is the key to successful travel. In 2011, 6,700 consular cases were categorized as distress situation, such as arrests, detentions, deaths abroad, medical emergencies, and assistance of Canadians abroad. So some of these problems could have been avoided, and this is why prevention is so important. And this brings us to the second role, assistance. Most trips go off without a hitch, but unfortunately, even with the best preparation, accidents, illness, and other problems can happen, and this is when we can help. The department also coordinates the Government of Canada's response to international emergencies abroad. If we take a look at the next slide, this is all the red dots on the map are the missions, the Canadian offices abroad. There are 260 missions in over 150 countries. And by missions, we mean embassies, high commissions, and the consulates we have in all the countries. But also in Ottawa, we have the Emergency Watch and Response Center that I've mentioned earlier. And this center operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and there are experienced officers always available to answer emergency calls from anywhere in the world. In case of an emergency when outside Canada, Canadians can also use the phone number shown on the screen. It's also available on our website to call, collect, where available, the emergency center. So this is the number, and we also have an email address. It's sos@international.gc.ca. So looking at the next slide, the consular services for Canadians. This is what we can do to replace passports, to provide support in medical emergencies by providing lists of local doctors and hospitals, arranging but not financing necessary medical evacuation, seek to ensure that Canadians are treated fairly under a country's laws, assist with repatriation of remains of deceased Canadians, and transfer funds in case of emergency. So this is what the consular services can do. Next slide is what we cannot do. Most importantly, we cannot intervene in the legal processes of foreign states. So this means we cannot get Canadians out of prison. Prison conditions can vary a lot around the world. In some countries, if you don't pay, you don't get food. So consular officials will ensure that Canadians in prison get access to the basic care, such as water, food, medication. And under the terms of the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations, consular officials can require consular access, ask what charges the person is being faced with, and ask to see the conditions of the detainee and that he or she is being properly treated. However, we cannot ask local authority to give preferential treatment to Canadians. So this list here, you can see what we cannot do. We always get interesting, strange requests every year. For example, we had someone asking us to tell his mother-in-law to leave his house and someone to pick up his dog at the airport. These would obviously be listed here under what we cannot do. If we look at the next slide, it's on the 3 R's of international travel. So the first slide, the first R is read, and this is what's on travel.gc.ca. The second R is register with our registration of Canadians Abroad service. And the third R, reach us if you need emergency assistance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The first one is read. So Canadians are subject to the local laws of the country they are traveling to or studying in. As such, it's important that they be as informed as possible prior to departure and to have the proper documentation, insurance, and financial resources. The travel advice and advisories are the official Government of Canada information and advice for foreign countries, and this information is always kept up to date and is gathered from a variety of reliable sources. We also consult other countries with like-minded countries, such as the U.S., Australia, the U.K., and New Zealand. So we're sharing some information with them. Next, travel.gc.ca. So this is the main page, the home page. It's the one-stop shop for Canadians traveling, living, studying, and working in destinations around the world. So on the top page, what you can see is on the left-hand side, you can see border wait time. This is general information for, of course, all country. Just below, you see information, various information on health. Next to it, airport security wait time. Next to it, register with us. This is our second R, the registration system. And just above, what can I bring on the plane? So you can find a lot of information under each of these categories here. In the middle, where do you want to go? And this is where we keep information for all the countries in the world. For example, here, if we pick, let's say, Mexico, a popular destination, we would get to the Mexico page. And the first tab starts with the advisories. And what it says about Mexico is that exercise a high degree of caution. And underneath, there's a regional advisory regarding the northern states of Mexico. And basically, it's hard for me to read, but if I recall correctly, it says to avoid all non-essential travel. So this is the first tab, but there are 6 tabs for Mexico. Next to it, you would find information on security. And this is, you would find information on crime, women's safety, road safety, public transportation, and so on. Next to it, it's entry and exit requirements. For example, if you need a visa to enter the country, or information about work permits. Next is the health tab. So here you would find information on medical facilities in the country. And there's also a link that goes directly to the Health Canada website. Sorry, and they have information for all the countries as well, but the link is direct. So if you click on this, you'll see what they say about Mexico, vaccination and diseases in the country. Next tab is the laws and money, laws and culture. And you would find information on laws, of course, culture, and also the local currency. And the last tab is disaster and climate. And here, information on whether there's a hurricane season or if there are any volcanoes and so on. So this is all the information you can find on for a specific country on travel.gc.ca. And this is the first R. But on the same page, you can see the 3 R's we've seen earlier. So the register, the second R you can see the icon on the right side. And the reach, the third R, you find information under the register. You can see the Embassy of Canada in Mexico and also all the consulates. So if you click on the embassy, you would find all the contact information and even the website of the embassy. So if we move on to the next slide, country travel advice and advisories. What you see on this map, all the green countries are basically the safest places, and the red ones would be the most dangerous ones. There are 4 levels. The lowest level is, we say, exercise normal security precaution. The second one is exercise a high degree of caution, and this was the case for Mexico or earlier, what we've seen before. And the last 2 are avoid non-essential travel and avoid all travel. So these ones would be in red on the map. Next slide is the publications. So these are some of the publications we offer, and all our publications are available online on the site, although some are offered in print format and may be ordered from our website free of charge. All are available in English and French, and they all provide essential information for travelers. The main consular publication is Bon Voyage But. This publication provides essential guidelines to ensure a safe and successful journey, but we have other publications as well with more specific focus. For example, Her Own Way, that focus on women traveling abroad by themselves. And also we have Well On Your Way, which focuses on health. And there's many more, for example, advice for cruise travelers, hurricane season travel tips, traveling with children, traveler's checklist, and these publications can be downloaded free of charge from the website, as I said, and we including also the emergency contact information card that you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. So next slide is about the second R, the registration of Canadians abroad, and basically it's a database where the traveler enters his name, also his contact information, and the travel dates. So this service is provided so that consular officials can contact and assist Canadians in an emergency abroad, such as a natural disaster or civil unrest, or to inform also about a family emergency at home. The registration is free, and it's also very very easy to do. Travelers can do this online or in person at a Canadian government office abroad. Registration is voluntary, and any personal information provided on the registration form is used in accordance with the Privacy Act. So, and we have developed a separate smartphone application to ensure that travelers can use it on the go. So don't forget to mention this registration system to your clients. If you don't, it could make a big difference to them in case of an emergency. If we look at the next slide, it's the third R, the Reach Us, and this is our call center in Ottawa. We've talked about this earlier, so in part of the consular services portion of the presentation. Next slide is Stay Connected. This is the social media slide. We're on Facebook, we're also on Twitter, and we're on Foursquare. And also travelers can subscribe to our email updates and also our RSS feeds. And the next one is about the SMART application, where travelers can get information wherever they are with their mobile devices. And this application can be downloaded from our website again. It's at the bottom on the right-hand side. The next 2 slides are on travel insurance. So the travelers are likely not covered by their provincial health plan. So additional travel insurance should be bought before departure. Some foreign hospitals and clinics have been known to refuse treatment to patients who lack proper insurance. Travel insurance can be bought through travel agents, insurance brokers, or an employer's insurance provider. And travelers have to be careful about what's being offered by the credit card companies, because sometimes there's a very limited coverage. Some more advices on travel insurance. Never lie about your medical history. Always obtaining approval before the treatment. Always read the fine prints. There could be, depending on the travel, if there's a travel advisory, there could be an impact on the travel insurance itself or the travel cancellation policy. And for more information, we ask you to go to travel.gc.ca. Now we have resources for travel counselors. The first one is a Safe Travel Planner, and it's a training course that to provide travel counselors with all the resources and information they need to plan safe and enjoyable trips for their clients. And the second one is the travel.gc.ca marketing materials. So we'll look at the first one. It's so the Safe Travel Planner for Travel Counselors is an online training session, and it's been approved by the CITC, the Canadian Institute of Travel Counselors. And this certificate provides 4 CITC course credits. I did it once. It took me about an hour or 2. And I think there were some questions, and we needed, I think, 70%. But if you pass, you can get the certificate for this course. The next one is about the marketing materials. You can see here on the right-hand side there are handouts that you can download, and also we have several buttons, different sizes, that you can put on your website. And these will link directly to, we provide also our address, so these buttons would link directly to our website. And there's a whole section on the travel.gc.ca on this, so if you're interested, you can go take a look at this. And our last slide is about contact information, so if you need to reach us, the Consular Outreach and Partnerships group, this is our phone number, our email address. Same for if there are any general information, and in case of emergencies, again, this is our phone number and our email address. This goes directly to our call center. So that's about it. Thank you very much, everyone, and I'll be here for the question and answer period.
Oh, thank you so much, Frederic. That was a very complete overview of what an agent can expect from a consulate. I know there was a couple questions there about the emails, and we'll get to all of that at the end of it, so it's still up on the screen, so you can jot it down now if you have a pen in front of you. Myself, I think there was often confusion about what a consulate can and cannot do, so knowing what the parameters are for what the consulate can do is really helpful. And I know I'll be using the tools. The online registration tool is amazing, and the border and immigration times super helpful. So thank you for presenting that information. Now I'd like to welcome Mike. Mike, along with his colleagues, has been going through lots of changes in the past few months. We're so happy Manulife could join us today to tell us about travel risk from the perspective of the insurance company. I think the more information we have to help our clients make informed decisions, the less chance we have of misunderstandings and challenges occurring while traveling. So I would like to welcome you and pass the mic over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Andrea. Hi, everyone. Welcome this afternoon. I want to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank you for inviting us to be here today. Just before I begin the presentation this afternoon, just thought I would give you just a little bit of an overview of who Manulife Travel Insurance is, as well as maybe clear up some confusion or some questions you might have with regards to the last couple of weeks where there's been some talk and there's been some news reported with regards to the merger or what have you with RBC and Manulife Travel Insurance. So I want to just address that for a few minutes, and then as mentioned before, I would be happy to take any questions. So Manulife Travel Insurance right now is the largest travel insurance provider in all of Canada. Back in September of 2012, we actually bypassed RBC as the #1 travel insurance supplier in all of Canada. And one of the reasons why that has come to be so quickly is that one of the things that we do differently than a lot of our competitors is that we brand and customize the product for the client. What that basically means is if you're a client of ours, you have a policy that's designed just for you, and only you can sell it to your clients. So we gear it towards your type of clientele when it comes to pricing, when it comes to benefits. And that was a big thing that attracted a lot of clients over to us, especially in the last 5 years of growing so quickly. And on September the 9th, Manulife entered into an agreement with RBC Travel Insurance, and in a nutshell, basically what's happened is we have been contracted out by RBC to fulfill the obligations of all of their current contracts in the retail brand. So back on September the 9th, the RBC Travel Insurance reps who currently were with RBC came over to Manulife, and over the course of the next few years, when those current contracts come due with existing RBC clients, they will have the option to come over to Manulife. And so that's just added obviously a lot more business to our plate, a lot of more strength to who we are as a company, and a big attractiveness to a lot of potential clients that are looking to set themselves apart in the industry when it comes to travel insurance. So that's just a little bit about who we are and the whole RBC Manulife merger that happened. We didn't buy RBC. They didn't sell themselves to us. They contracted themselves out to us to fulfill the rest of their contract obligations. They still are keeping the credit card business, the airline business, and also the web business as well. But any retail mama and papa shop, for example, that currently sells RBC Travel Insurance is being handled by Manulife. As mentioned in my introduction by Andrea, where my focus is right now is the Eastern Canada account with Flight Centre, Celifications, and iTravel 2000. One of the things that we were asked to do today in the presentation is talk a little bit about risk and how that can incorporate when it comes to travel insurance. And it was really interesting listening to Frederic go through his presentation, because a lot of what he had to say sort of goes hand in hand with what I'm going to talk about today. So it's kind of really neat that happened. One of the areas when I was thinking about presenting today that I wanted to talk to you about is in the area of trip interruption. And I entitled today's presentation, Trip Interruption, the Hidden Selling Tool. Because a lot of our clients, we find, don't understand the value of trip interruption. And a lot of travel agents sometimes don't think about that as an opportunity to show the true value of the travel insurance policy, especially in the area of overcoming objections when it comes to credit cards or banks or insurance companies that seem to be offering a product that looks identical to yours, yet it's maybe $30, $40, $50, $60 cheaper, and you don't understand why. And that's where when Frederic talked about the fine print or the exclusions, that's really where, at the end of the day, the value comes down. And for those of you who have been doing this for a long period of time, and for those of you who have maybe doing this just for a short period of time, I'm sure you've heard from your clients when the topic of travel insurance comes up that they're going no matter what. And they don't really want to hear of a reason why they might have to cancel their trip. And what we remind our travel agents to communicate to their clients is that hand in hand with cancellation insurance comes this thing called trip interruption. And trip interruption insurance starts the second you walk out your front door, and it ends the second you come home to your home province or territory of residence. And there's a lot of things that can come up when your clients do leave their front door en route to the airport or once they get to destination, that we want to educate them to be protected, and you'll see why in a few slides here. So trip interruption, we feel, is a little bit easier to sell to the client than trip interruption, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do that. So the agenda we want to talk to you about today, first of all, is what is the truth about trip interruption? What exactly does trip interruption cover? We want to then help you understand the importance of being familiar with the risks. We want to talk to you about the benefits so that you can communicate that to your client, and then overcome the objections. That's the big thing that we are finding today. You know, everybody wants the cheapest, and how do we overcome the objections to the client when they say no? You know, we all know the stereotypical view of insurance companies that look for ways not to pay your claim after they've got your money. And that's just not who Manulife is. And one of the interesting statistics or things that we pride ourselves on here at Manulife is that we pay 98% of all claims that get submitted. And that's a stat that we are really proud of, and we do that based on, again, the customization and branding of the product for what the client wants. So hopefully you'll get a better grasp of, or maybe some new ideas today on how to overcome objections when it comes to that. So the truth about trip interruption coverage. Trip interruption coverage applies to everyone. Again, some of you may be familiar with the term zero prior. When you sell a client a zero prior policy, they have no cancellation, but they have trip interruption. You can't decline trip interruption. And as I said before, you will have an easier time selling trip interruption than trip cancellation, and we want to show you why. So let's look at a picture that you can paint for your client. A lot of our clients with Manulife have anywhere between 17 to 20 reasons why your client can make a trip interruption claim with us. You know, Frederic was talking about the Department of Foreign Affairs issuing a travel advisory not to travel somewhere. Well, we want to protect your client not only if that happens prior to departure, that's cancellation, but we also want to protect your client if it happens while they're on their trip. And a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people don't understand that a lot of the things that they end up having to cancel for potentially can be also covered while they're on their trip. So if the Department of Foreign Affairs issues a travel advisory not to travel to a certain destination and they've already left on their trip, well, there's benefits in our policy that are going to protect your client for that. And trip interruption, as it states there, is really an umbrella term that applies to travel delay, misconnection, and delayed return insurance. And so when your client is traveling, one of the things that they need to understand is that things can happen, and things unfortunately do happen. And it's your job in that small window of opportunity that you have with a lot of your clients, especially new clients. You've got that really small window of opportunity to build that trust with your client, to make them feel that at the end of the day, you just want to make sure that they know what they've got and they're properly protected. And so that's why we want to always educate the client on the potential risks involved in traveling. We also don't want to forget the exclusions. They apply to all types of coverage, especially in the area of pre-existing conditions. And most people are familiar that a trip interruption covers that one-way ticket back home in the event of a medical emergency. But a lot of people don't understand that that's a great selling tool for their client, especially for those clients who say to you, well, you know what, I'm going no matter what. One of the things that we like to position to our clients if they say that to them is that, you know what, that's great and we understand that you're going no matter what. But what happens if you get to destination and you get a phone call from home that something's happened to a very close immediate family member and you have to come home right away, last minute? Would you not want the cost of that one-way ticket reimbursed to you? And most people, if they're not, you know, ridiculously wealthy, would obviously agree that it would be nice to do that. And a way to show the client the value of that is to quote them a one-way last-minute ticket from wherever they're going. It's typically hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And when the cost of the insurance in conjunction with that one-way airfare just in itself shows a lot of value to the client. When we talk about exclusions, we are simply referring to what's not covered. And this is where Manulife is a little bit different than other insurance companies when it comes to exclusions or what's not covered in the area of trip interruption. And I want to just speak for a few minutes here with the question that's surrounding a pre-existing condition. Meaning if a client has to interrupt their trip maybe and come home early because of a pre-existing condition, the nice thing that Manulife does is we only look at the stability of that condition if it refers to them, their spouse, or their child. Where other insurance companies will say, regardless of who it is, that person will have needed to have been stable for typically 3 months prior to the date the policy was purchased if you want to have a trip interruption claim or even a cancellation claim paid for. And one of the things that Manulife does is we don't say that. We only will look at the stability of the insured spouse, or the insured's child. If it's anyone outside of those three people, all we do at Manulife is we say to your client, did you know of that reason when you bought the policy? That's called knowledge at time of booking. And that's the only exclusion that we have if it doesn't relate to you, your spouse, or your child. So it's so important to make sure that your client is familiar with the exclusions, especially if they're doing a comparison with, like Frederick mentioned, a credit card company or maybe a group insurance company or the bank, for the example. One of the things that I've been saying to a lot of people for the last 3 to 6 months is to help them understand, again, the value of the policy, is that a benefit is only as good as the reasons why you can claim on them. And when a client sits back for a second and thinks about that statement, you know what, it is true. Don't necessarily look at the price right now. Look at the value of the policy. How can you claim on the benefits that they say that they are going to give you? Because any credit card company, or any company for that matter, could offer your client hundreds and thousands of dollars of benefits in the policy, but if they make it virtually impossible to claim on them, then it's not worth anything. Hopefully you see my analogy there, and that's what we really want to encourage our clients to do always, is not forget the exclusions. Now, when it comes to travel delay, we have many benefits in our policy when it comes to delay because of mechanical failure. So en route to the airport, there are benefits for things such as, again, mechanical failure, police-directed road closure, traffic accident. If they miss their flight or they miss their connection because of that, then benefits are applicable. Delayed return insurance. So if they're delayed in returning back from their destination, then we want to provide protection for your client. Hotel and meal expenses, phone calls, taxi fare expenses, all done on a pay and submit basis. Traveling is essentially a risky investment, and we really want to make sure that your client is aware all the time of the risks involved. Well, how do we do that? Well, we have 4 main areas of risk that we want your client to really see. You know, first of all, as most of us know and hopefully know on the call today, there's a health risk. If you don't know this already, I'll tell you this, that outside of Canada, the medical world is operated as a business. It's owned and operated just like the local McDonald's on the city or town that you live in right there today. And as a business, a self-employed business for that matter, those people have rights. They have rights to set the prices for the services they're going to provide to your client. And just like Frederick was saying, unfortunately, there are hospitals and doctor's offices and medical facilities outside of North America that will sadly let your client die before treating them medically until guaranteed payments in their hand. So you want to make sure that not only does your client have adequate coverage, but can they contact an assistance provider 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We also then want to look at the area of safety. Anything can happen to your client at destination. They can fall, and some of us are familiar with the news story that got some air a little while ago with the ex-Toronto Argonaut cheerleader who fell and hit her head on a catamaran. And that would have been protected. Security. A lot of people are saved so long for their trip. They're so excited for their trip and they don't maybe see the risks involved after they leave. And again, that's where the trip interruption section comes into place. And then finally, financial investment. So many things could potentially happen at destination where they can't use the rest of their trip. For example, a client takes a 10-day trip and on day 2, they have to come home because of a medical emergency, maybe someone else back at home. They've lost day 3 to day 10 at destination. One of the things that trip interruption does is not only does it protect the client for that one-way trip back home, but it also covers what we call unused prepaid land. It's non-refundable, it's unused, and it's been prepaid. So upon the claim being approved, we would reimburse the client a prorated value of day 3 to day 10, because then the financial investment would also be protected. So important to highlight those risks. Trip interruption coverage is unlimited, and unlimited kind of points to the direction of that, again, that one-way air ticket. If your client has to come home in the event of a medical emergency of someone at home, if the only trip they can find or the only flight they can find is $4,000, then we will reimburse that client that ticket if it's a payable claim. There's things there for your clients such as subsistence allowance, so the recovery of money, things that they run into with regards to staying at a hotel unexpectedly, have unexpected meal costs. We talked about before in Frederick's presentation about lost or stolen passports or visas. If your client has to overnight somewhere far to wait for that documentation to arrive so they can continue on their trip, we provide protection for that. Trip interruption applies to all plans at Manulife that have a cancellation benefit associated to it. Now, when it comes to overcoming objections, this is sort of one of the things that, part of my, believe it or not, it's one of my favorite areas that I focus on. And because at the end of the day, it is difficult these days. I'm not going to lie to you. There are some fierce competition out there when it comes to travel insurance. So we have to start getting smarter. We have to start getting more educated. We didn't have to do this 10 or 15 years ago. So these are just a few of the tips that we've been giving out over the last little while when it comes to helping our clients overcome any objection. The first tip that we give out is avoid using the word insurance. Use words like coverage or protection. And it's all about the little things. Asking our clients, is this the first time you've traveled? And how did you protect your trip the last time you went away? If we can do anything to avoid that stigma of the word insurance at the very beginning of the sales process, that's going to help you sell more insurance. Be careful that the transition in dialogue from booking the trip to introducing the travel protection is a smooth one. Right now, what we're teaching a lot of our clients is something called the police principles. And it's the police principles for success, where we talk about planting the seed earlier, bringing up the topic of insurance early, overcoming the objections the right way. Make sure we're always listening to the client and validating the client. The I stands for identify the benefits. Compare with the checklist new tool that we have here at Manulife, and then end with closing the sale. There's a right way and a wrong way to overcome any objection that we do make, and at the end of the day, our clients need to feel, and your clients need to feel for that matter, that you're just not looking for another sale, that you are genuinely wanting to make sure that they are properly protected. And we call that here the I don't care approach. Know your product and begin the dialogue early. It's so important to know your product. If there's one thing I would encourage everyone to do is at least whatever policy that you're selling in the office that you work in today is to review your policy booklet at least 3 to 4 times a year. A refresher is never a bad idea. Insurance is a very, very complicated and tricky topic sometimes to talk about. But we find those people who spend more time learning about their product have an easier way of overcoming objections. And the philosophy that I've lived by for years now is that knowledge of the product builds confidence to sell it. And that can be true about anything, but it cannot be more true when it comes to the topic of travel insurance. Being prepared to answer questions in detail and providing additional information that will clarify the coverage of your client. Eliminate opportunities for the client to object. Well, how do we do that? Well, we need to ask close-ended questions. So the 3 worst questions you could ever ask your client, and if you're taking some notes here, I would encourage you to maybe write these down because, sometimes I'll go into offices and I do coaching sessions and I just watch and observe, and I find the single biggest thing people do is they don't ask the right questions the right way. And the 3 worst questions you could ever ask a client are, do you need travel insurance, do you want travel insurance, or do you have travel insurance? Those are the 3 worst questions, because it's an easy no, sign the waiver form and have a great day. One of the new questions we're asking our clients these days is this the first time you've traveled? And how did you protect your trip the last time you went away? And it's just a softer approach. We're talking about the same thing. We're just not using the word insurance. And then ask for permission to explain how you can protect them. It's so interesting over the course of the last 2 years, I'll say, that we've been really exploring the value in understanding the whole psychological part of the sales process. Where if you can understand how the client's head works before they come in your office, you can better prepare yourself for your response back to your client. So if you can ask them questions that you already know the answer to ahead of time, that gives you time to prepare and practice your answers. But most people, when we talk about asking for permission, that's something that's called validation. Clients need to feel that they're heard and that they need to feel that they're being listened to and that you're not on your own agenda. It's so important to make sure that we ask their permission. Would it be okay if after I've got all the details of your trip to talk to you a little bit about what most people or how most people protect their trip here in this office? You get their buy-in, you get their permission to talk about it for 5 to 10 minutes. So always again, in closing here, remember to focus on health, safety, and the financial protection of your client, and show them the value of trip interruption versus trip cancellation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. That was a great presentation. It helps us understand the nuances of insurance more. I know if someone's not even using Manulife, it'll be easier to compare insurance options, and we'll know what questions need answering. So I want to take a moment to tie in all the presentations and what we learned from both, maybe offer some recommendations based upon best practices. I've been looking at academic articles and industry articles to really bring together best practices regarding travel risk, and specifically with respect to travel agents and agencies. So these are the recommendations that have been come up again and again. Of course, the first is from almost every source I could find, they always mention reviewing government websites before your clients travel. And that's exactly what Frederic went over for us today. So we're really set with the government information. We're going to be sending out that PowerPoint to everybody so you'll know. One of the key points is getting your clients to register, and I know we have some questions about that. We'll get to those in a couple of seconds. And also travel law lawyers, I've talked to quite a few and looked at the research, recommended obtaining travel insurance. We've just heard that today from Mike, so that's really good. So we've essentially covered the first two big recommendations here in our presentation. Now, these should be written in plain English. They would advise the clients about the risk of traveling to a particular destination. It should be signed by the traveler and witnessed by the agent, if possible, with each keeping a copy. I know it sounds like a lot of work, and I think in practice, you know, if you were to have these in your office, you know, waiver would be considered as the destination risk increases, and so you could tie it to the government website. Riskier places. And then there's also the risk with high-risk activities. So that's another disclaimer. And if you're booking those types of activities, you might want to look into that. Again, travel law lawyers recommend a short, accurate description of the risk, accompany the disclaimer, along with the suggestion that clients check with their own medical providers to determine if they have any physical problems or issues with engaging in the activity. So excuse me, sorry. Plus, there are likely guidelines and rules about when to present a disclosure to a client. So, I mean, really the best thing I could say is to work with your company or your host agency or wherever you're employed and get those documents and help them train you to use them. Because if your clients are going to risky destinations or risky activities, this has come up as a best practice over and over again. The next recommendation is having clear policies regarding what destinations your agencies will sell to, and what to do if unpredictable events happen. Again, you have to design your own within your own company, and there's no standard wording. And of course, you can probably guess, most companies, a big poll was done by a company called Informed Logistics. Most companies don't have policies like this. It's time-consuming to draft, this was the response, and communicate, but they are important, and they can be as simple as informing clients going to countries that have different travel advisories. You know, they shouldn't take anything on their trip they're not prepared to part with, such as items of high financial or sentimental value, or they should maybe keep a low profile if they could, to avoid some situations that are risky. But you have to come up with your own about, depending on where your clients tend to travel. So finally then, the best practices show that know where your clients are. For travel agents, you know, when things go wrong on a trip, knowing where your client is half the battle. You will have your P&R and itinerary. But the problem with those is that they assume the traveler is sticking to the original plan, when things go awry, that's not likely to happen. Communications are often the first thing to go in emergencies or disasters. So ensuring you can get hold of your client or they can get hold of you is key. One way to manage this risk is, of course, register, like Frederic said, with the federal government, but also you can give them a wallet card with your contact information and the federal government's contact information, and make sure that the emergency numbers in your cell phone. That, again, were some best practices that were identified. And I think just overall then, before we get to questions, is the key is being prepared. Knowing as much possible about the destination country and countries is the best way to prepare your travelers for any situation they may encounter. And do as much of the recommendations there before they go, and then just work with the governments and the suppliers and the people on the ground when challenges arrive. So I'm going to open it up now to questions, and I know we have some. First of all is the email. I believe we're okay with that because that's been start with the questions here. Let's see. Oh my goodness, here. Okay, so Dorothy has a question for you, Frederic. The Well on Your Way, she's not sure it's in print anymore. She would like it again. She's like, can it be made available again, please? So do you know anything about that, Frederic, by chance?
We may have run out of print copies. I will definitely check this. Some publications are more popular than others, but I will definitely check this. For the online version, however, is available to everyone. So on the site you have access to all of the publication online. But as for the print copies, I will check.
You'll check, okay. And also, we have one from Vicki. Should agents suggest the registration to all of their clients? I'm assuming she means domestic travelers, or is it for international clients?
It would be for all. Well, we, as a best practice, we recommend registering whenever you leave the country. Okay. So that would be for all the international travels.
Okay. Now, for myself, I was just wondering if I'm a travel agent, do the clients have to register themselves, or can agents register them, or is what's the, I guess, privacy? They register themselves? Or what is the recommendation around that?
Usually, the travelers do so. It can be done various ways. As I mentioned earlier, it can be done online, but the travelers can also contact the embassy. The Canadian Embassy, and provide their phone, all their information over the phone if they wish to.
Okay, and just because
and the registration, just to add one more little thing, the registration is it takes about 5 minutes, so it's very easy to do and very quick.
That's good to know, yeah, because I'm sure people will ask us. Now, we had another question about how often your information is updated on the website regarding the destination. So, I guess how accurate really is that information, or how do you get the information about what travel advisories and maybe, I'm sure it's quite complicated, but maybe a synopsis of what goes into it.
The thing basically it's constantly updated. So whenever there's something happening in the country, or if the advisory goes down, I mean the level goes down, it's going to be updated on the website. And it's constantly updated, so there are updates every day.
Oh, okay, so it is. So it's as accurate as it really can be. That's perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Barb has a question here for Mike, actually. Mike, she's asking, is it possible for a client to purchase deluxe travel insurance for the entire year?
Yeah, well, one of the restrictions that we have at Manulife for the majority of our clients, and I have to sort of give that preface, is because, again, we do that branding and customizing of the product, but most of the time clients cannot buy a package plan. So package plan meaning medical, baggage, cancellation, interruption, and travel and flight accident all together for one price. If they're over the age of 60, traveling for more than 60 days, they can't. So we have a restriction of 60 days or less for people who are 60 and over. But if they're under the age of 60, we do offer that capability to purchase 6 months at a time to a maximum of 1 year.
Okay, great. Now let me see. I'm just. Okay, so Dorothy, too, for you, Mike. Is a trip interruption flight home booked by the travel agent or Manulife? I guess if something happens, yeah, who would do the booking, or how does that
Sure.
work?
Yeah, that's an excellent question as well. So what a lot of insurance companies do, if not all, um, they partner with an assistance provider, and one of the assistance providers that we work with is a company called ACM, or Active Care Management. And when your client runs into a situation where they need a one-way ticket back home, we do our best to first of all contact the original booking agent, because that's who knows the most information about the client. They have their itinerary, and sometimes it's just as easy as a change fee versus a brand new ticket. So we do whatever we can to contact the original booking agent, but if not, we do have someone on standby 24 hours a day to take care of that for your client, but it's not booked by Manulife, and I just wanted to be very clear with that, that point.
Christine has a question. It's again for you, Mike. How does the branded and customized insurance work?
Yeah, sure. I saw that question there. Basically, what we do is on a high level. It really boils down to volume of business. So for our clients who do sell a lot of travel insurance in any given year, we do have the option to sit down with them and say, okay, well, what benefits would you like to specifically see that can be geared towards your clients? And it really does, come down to pricing. Where if we have a client, for example, CAA would be a good example. CAA focuses more on older people. Where we look at another company, I'll just use Flight Centre for example, is that they gear towards more the younger travelers traveling to all-inclusive destinations 1 to 2 weeks, and are typically under the age of 50. So we can gear those benefits and that pricing area for their type of clients. So if you were to compare the two, you would find, for example, CAA would have a lot cheaper rates when it comes to older people going away for longer periods of time than Flight Centre would, and vice versa for the shorter trips.
Okay, great. And then, Frederic, I'm not sure if you're typing it in there. Laura was wondering about the certification program that you mentioned, and she's wondering about the URL. If I don't know, if, or maybe you can just tell us over the phone if you have it in front of you. Oh, you've got it
right here.
You've got it up. Perfect.
So all you have to do is click on this, and you'll see the page on our travel.gc.ca website.
Yeah, that was a really good one, too. I was not familiar with that, I have to say. Okay, and we've got another one. Thank you for all the questions, all participants. This is really great. Okay, so I guess, Mike, it would be for you. Is insurance
Absolutely. So in my opinion, and that's just what it is, my opinion, I believe insurance is sold more effectively in person because you've got that engagement with the client. You can see their facial reaction to what you're saying. You can hear their tone of voice. You can talk to them a little bit better. That's not to say that email can't be just as effective. And I think that one of the things that we work with clients who deal a lot with their clients over email is we come up with an email template that talks to their client, because like I mentioned before, we live in this price-sensitive world where everybody wants the face, I believe is better, but it's not always an option. So we work with our clients, and we do have clients who a lot of the times, 99%, deal with clients over the phone or via email. And we develop some strategies, we develop some email templates to make sure we're using the right wording in the right place. One of the biggest pieces of advice I can give everyone who's listening today, when you are dealing with clients over the phone or via email, is to only offer one option at a time. In the price-sensitive world we live in, if you offer your clients 3 things, it's a package product, like an all-inclusive or deluxe product, then offer that first and work your way down. But if you give them 3 options all at one time, more than likely they're going to take the cheapest.
Well, thank you. That was a great answer. And it's now 2 o'clock. I believe we've got all our questions answered. If I've missed any, please type it in quickly. I'm going to take this moment to say thank you to our series sponsors, who are, of course, Air Canada, Eaton Chelsea, Ted Rogers School of Management at Ryerson, and of course, Baxter Travel and Media. But I'd also like to give a big thank you to our speakers, Frederic Baril and Mike Sanderson. I know you both worked really hard to pull together your presentations. There was a lot of back-end work too, so thank you so much for all of your expertise today. And our RTTF participants, thank you so much for giving your time, as always, and your questions and your participation. Really appreciate it. Again, don't forget to sign up for our next webinar in 2 weeks, November 20th. We're going to be talking about accessibility in travel. It's a great area to specialize in, and Ted Manning and Isabelle Duchamp from Carole will be your inspiration about how you can gain the skills and knowledge to give you a great start in servicing clients with mobility needs. It's going to be very informative, so please sign up. That's it for today, and thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.